The challenge of underdevelopment in Africa is enormous. Infrastructural deficiency, unemployment, and economic deprivation are rife in many African countries. While many of these countries have looked to external help, there is now a growing call for homegrown solutions anchored on sound integration strategies to aid economic growth among nations in the continent. This week, we will be focusing on how this can be achieved. And I am Charles Alpha, welcoming you to Africa Weekly. Recognizing the need to work together more than previously, some African countries are now engaging in joint development agendas beyond just belonging to regional integration blocs. The Nigeria and Sao Tome Joint Development Authority is one of such attempts to solidify economic and diplomatic integration.
Board members of the Nigeria, Sao Tome and Principe Joint Development Authority were in the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe to discuss with leaders of the Republic on current efforts at ensuring sustainability of the authority and joint development zone. This is in line with the treaty between Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of Sao Tome and Principe Joint Development Authority, established in 2002 to manage resources of the Nigeria-Sao Tome Gulf of Guinea for the economic benefits of both countries. Chairman of the board, Dr. Almajiri Gedam, said there has been activities in the zone, but not without numerous challenges, especially with the exploration of oil for the two countries.
When you are dealing with the exploration of oil, you can only say there is no oil when you have drilled. You see, in truth, how many wells have been drilled in the joint development zone are only 8. So we believe that it's just a matter of time. I know that, of course, the citizens of both countries are waiting to see the result. We are optimistic that what is happening now in the zone will yield those results.
He also noted that a joint ministerial council meeting is anticipated later in the year.
And similarly, Rwanda and the Central African Republic have signed a memorandum of understanding that will facilitate the promotion of homegrown solutions to deal with the challenges both countries face and encourage more cooperation.
The Memorandum of Understanding covers a number of sectors and will seek to encourage both sides to look to themselves and each other when tackling important national issues.
This Memorandum of Understanding is a very important one. It's a very important instrument in the implementation of South-South cooperation. We know that as African countries, we can learn from each other. It is much easier to learn from our sisters and brothers in other African countries, as we share many things like our values, our environment, and it's much easier to develop together strategies and policies that are easily applicable and also having an impact on long term. On the other hand, we signed also with UNDP in the Central African Republic, which is also important, coming in and making it a triangular cooperation with the partners supporting our bilateral cooperation.
African countries are progressively realizing that the solutions to the problems the continent faces must come from Africans themselves.
Nous avons intérêt à marcher ensemble.
We stand to benefit from working together to reduce poverty levels. Why? Because poverty gives the opportunity for people with bad ideologies to poison a country's youth into rebellion, and when such things occur near Rwanda's borders or further away, the repercussions eventually find their way into the country itself. Those people may cause insecurity, which is why all Africans must live decently, and the responsibility of fighting poverty belongs to all Africans.
Chacun là où il est, il puisse vivre décemment. Et donc il faudrait que cette lutte contre la pauvreté soit considérée comme une lutte pour tous les Africains.
Indeed, extensive cooperation between African countries presents benefits on many fronts.
This is an agreement that aims at promoting digitalization, and we have a delegation that is led by a minister from the Central African Republic that came in Rwanda with a delegation to learn from the experience of Rwanda. And this is in the context of the South-South cooperation, because we have a strong belief that we don't have to go abroad in other continents to look for solutions for challenges that we have in Africa. So this is one of the ways to cement that belief that we can find solutions to our challenges on the continent. So this is the spirit in which this agreement had been signed, and this is in addition to many other agreements between Rwanda and Central African Republic. As you remember, there was a state visit in 2020, in August of 2020, by the President of Central African Republic, Professor Archange Touadéra, who was received by his counterpart, President Paul Kagame. And during that visit, there was a signing of a number of agreements, and this is another agreement that proves the excellent bilateral relationship that exists between Rwanda and the Central African Republic.
The United Nations Development Programme in the Central African Republic will support the implementation of the agreement.
Yeah, we are supporting this agreement because UNDP believe in the acceleration of sustainable development goals. That's one. Secondly, Rwanda has gone through the same issue that the Central African Republic is going today. Rwanda is far advanced. Rwanda had the vision. Rwanda have transformed the daily life of its citizens through digitalization. Rwanda can offer the Irembo platform, the Rwanda Online, the e-governance. So we came here with the two ministers from the Central African Republic to learn as quick as possible. It's a system that Rwanda have developed because it has a vision. It's a system that can be replicated to the Central African Republic context. And Rwanda is just 2 hours flight. They can come here, learn, and UNDP is very happy to accompany that process. And that's the reason why we are here to sign a MOU between the Rwanda Cooperation Initiative, the government of Rwanda, and the Republic of Central Africa. This is the objective of our presence here.
Rwanda and the Central African Republic have strong bilateral ties that encompass security, trade, and more.
Okay, joining me live now in the studio to talk more about this issue is Dr. Annie George. He is the Director of Policy and Strategy, African School of Diplomacy and International Relations. Doctor, we're glad to have you on Africa Weekly.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, thanks so much. Diplomacy and international relations. Tell us more about it. What is it all about when you say diplomacy?
Diplomacy is all about the conduct of international relations, the influence of decision of foreign countries and people through dialogue, negotiation, and all peaceful out to broker peace and redefine policies. Diplomacy is non-violent. It's a substitute for violence. Key idea of diplomacy is to promote peace in international relations. And a leader, through diplomacy, could accept criticisms, proffer solutions, and do many other things to affect for the good of the people and for a peaceful environment.
Okay, now, in using diplomacy to enhance cooperation and integration, Now, in Africa, how much is being done, in your own view?
In Africa, diplomacy is at the growing stage.
All right.
Many countries have signed diplomatic relations, but the main issue is not about just the signature, it's about actualizing what diplomacy is all about. You know, in Africa, with a proper diplomatic functions being followed, an African should be an African in any African state, which is not possible right now. There's no regional integration. I can't go to Ghana and be treated as a Ghanaian. That's what I'm trying to put across. So for us here, we have a whole lot. Although we have bilateral and multilateral agreements, treaties, and all that, but a lot has been overlooked. The crisis, the problems, the structures that are not sitting right in the country. There's so much problems happening in the African states. If there was a proper diplomatic process, this could have been reduced to a certain extent, but that is not possible. Take, for example, an African heads of state should be able to have a policy that is well understood and followed, which covers the African nation. But that is not possible. You know, I won't fail to appreciate the efforts of African Union, the ECOWAS, the CENSAD. They are making efforts, but that is not enough.
All right.
Especially what the effort on ground now is the AU Agenda 2063, which tries to reposition Africa for Africa, reintegrate the whole region, work on the economy. We want to move from the apartheid, from the independence of the continent, to a social, inclusive economic governance where Africa harnesses their resources and also they're able to work, Africa will work for Africa to give us a fair playing ground in the global world. Right. We know the world is a global village. We need to position ourselves economically, socially, and otherwise to be able to play well on the field and not be an onlooker.
All right. Okay. Okay. So now, what is the level of capacity building, you know, at the African School of Diplomacy and International Relations?
African School of Diplomacy and International Relationship is an international institution.
Yeah.
With academic excellence. That's our focus.
Okay.
Our motto is raising Pan-African leaders. We're African-centered. And we try the best we can to incorporate the culture, the history of Africa into our program, in which people are taught the country, being an international organization, is not just restricted to Nigeria. We have people from other countries who are involved in what we are doing, who link up, who log in with us to be trained and to be taught about cooperation and integration in African states.
Okay.
And most especially too, the students who are put forth and the institutions have been able to involve with us and participate with us and partner with us. We have a lot of success stories from them about what they've learned and what they will be able to impact to the larger society. They've yielded positive results. And being an international institution, the feedback we get from other countries who are involved in the economies of that country is very impressive. For this, we are very happy about.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Hani George, the Director of Policy and Strategy, African School of Diplomacy and International Relations. Thank you very much for coming on Africa Weekly, Doctor.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Okay, now up next is Tidbit segment. Please do stay with us. The Nigerian government says it will lend a helping hand to South Sudan in fighting insurgency and restoring cohesion in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari made the promise while receiving in audience the special envoy of the Southern Sudanese leader, President Salva Kiir.
The special envoy of the South Sudanese leader, Albino Matham Ayuel, is in Nigeria on the mandate of his president, Salva Kiir, to intimate President Muhammadu Buhari with the situation in his country. He said an insurgent group, in particular, just like Boko Haram, kills, maims, and destroys mercilessly. The envoy appealed for close collaboration between Nigeria and South Sudan on security, particularly the training of the South Sudanese forces, given Nigeria's experience in the area. Mr. Albino Ayuel said South Sudan is keen on ending the insurgent activities, hence the appeal to the big brother Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari told the special envoy the situation his administration inherited on coming to power in 2015, especially in the Northeast, and how great strides have been taken in comparison with present days. Nigeria, he said, will study the South Sudanese situation and see how it can help.
Nine member countries of the Niger Basin Authority are facing a major water resources management issue as the Niger Basin River depletes. But the solution is close to home, or so is the belief, as representatives of member nations meet for 5 days in Abuja, Nigeria, to validate a draft of the solution.
We are all depending on the river Niger for water supply, fishing, and many other activities. The water that we require for carrying out all these activities is clean water.
It is important to state that the evolution of water resources quality in the basin and the discharge of wastewater have to be monitored given the continuous increase in industrial mining and agricultural activities.
Chairman of the National Committee will rearrange everyone. We appreciate you for your patience.
To get the best practices, the best experiences from each country of the country of the Niger Basin to see how we can move ahead.
So this is one of the, can I say, the pillars or the catalysts that can really help us to see how the polluted water can be maximized to ensure that we have good water by year 2030.
In Nigeria, the general election billed for next year is dominating engagements in many spheres in the country as stakeholders find ways to ensure credible election and massive participation by the citizens, especially the youths. Subsequently, United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and Yaga Africa plan to mobilize 60% of the total number of eligible youths in Nigeria for the registration and collection of permanent voter card, as well as active involvement in the 2023 election process. Young people make up greater number of voters in Nigeria and play a pivotal role in the nation's democratic process. This is because they act as catalysts for social change and good governance. Statistics reveal that only 46% of the 51.1 registered youth usually turn out during elections, with participation rate pegged at 33.5%, falling below expectations. The idea of the 60% of all project by the United Nations Development Program and Yaga Africa is to increase youth voter turnouts, particularly young women and men, in 2023 elections.
In the last election, we had about 33% turnout overall, and this is concerning.
Just imagine if just 50 or 60% of young people vote at elections. It means Nigeria can actually get the leadership that it desires.
Why people think Nigerian youths are frustrated and want to leave the country, there's a larger percentage who want to stay back and create change.
With the introduction of technology, stakeholders believe the process is working and getting better.
Get young people excited about the opportunity they have, about their responsibility. Get them to understand that the process can work.
The youth, the key players say, must identify, unify their strategies, and prepare to turn up during the 2023 general elections. And that's our package this week on Africa Weekly. Many thanks as always for being part of it. I am Charles Alpha.